Hi everybody, welcome to Caketastic Cakes. It's Jen and I'm going to show you today how I made this Daniel Tiger cake from Daniel Tiger's neighborhood. And if you see me use any tools or supplies you can use, check the link in the description below. It should be able to help you out. To begin, I'm going to start by making the trolley from Daniel Tiger's neighborhood. I found a picture, I printed it out, and I rolled out some red gum paste here. And you could use fondant for this if you wanted to, I believe, because this is going to go onto the side of the cake. So, whatever works. I'm using gum paste. You could use fondant, whatever. I just cut it out, traced it out as you see, and then I moved my red onto a paper towel just so it'd be easier to move around. I took some yellow gum paste that I rolled out nice and thin, cut a long, thin strip out of it, and I'm going to put the one right across the top there of the roof to the trolley. It doesn't go all the way to the edges. You can kind of see it tapers a little bit. I'm going to add some more yellow to the two sides here, just a couple little rectangles. Just be careful of the location. Don't put them down too low where the steps begin on the red part of the trolley, because we're going to be adding more layers to it in a minute and you don't want it to get in the way. I cut out two of the seats from the trolley, the right and left facing seats, and I'm going to make 3 copies of those out of my yellow gum paste as well. So there's my first one that I made. I'm going to call it the front facing because I'm right-handed, so to me it's like going forward. So I've got the 3 lined up. I just use a little bit of water, put them into place. Take the one that's facing backwards, cut it out 3 times just like before, put it into place, and now the trolley has its seats. I'm going to add 2 little rectangles of yellow gum paste up on the tip top of the roof there on those 2 little peaks. Just like that. Make sure they're nice and even. And now I'm going to add a couple more little pieces of yellow. I think they're supposed to be the handles to climb on and off of the trolley. I'm not really sure. They're just little slivers. I wasn't really too sure. So I just put them on there, as you can see, kind of between the seat and that little rectangle and there. But they sit a little bit higher up. So yeah, just be aware of that. Now I'm going to take another piece of red gum paste that's, just the same thickness as before. Thin little strip. I'm going to put it underneath that yellow stripe on the roof. So now the roof kind of comes out at you a little bit. It's a little more three-dimensional. Now I'm also going to do the bottom part there. I cut out the 2 steps, as you can see. So now both the bottom steps are just 1 layer. And I'm going to lay it over top, try to line it up, make it nice and neat. And then I'm going to cut 1 more strip and put it over the bottom step only for the trolley. So the bottom one has 3 layers and the roof will only have 2, but it just kind of follows the step progression, I guess. Now put that aside to dry and get ready to make Daniel. Now to make my Daniel, I'm going to start with some red gum paste. I have it shaped kind of like a loose square, maybe I'd say that is there. I stuck a lollipop stick down through it. And that is where I thought I was going to be beginning, but I ended up changing everything, so you don't have to do the lollipop stick part quite yet. You can skip that part if you want, but this part I think is pretty cool. It's my little stitching tool. I went all over it to make stitches all around it to make his sweater look more like a cable knitted sweater. I know this gum paste looks yellow. It's actually gold. I rolled out the big log you see there, and it's a little bit tapered. I don't know if you can tell or not, but now I'm using my lollipop stick. I cut it in half, stuck it through each leg, and I have it tapered at the bottom. So his legs are a little thicker at the top, and then tapered down a little bit toward the bottom. You can kind of see it in here a little bit. And if you need to trim off a little bit more to get the taper better, just do it. Just make sure you have a little bit of a taper going. All right, I'm standing it upside down for now because why not? It doesn't hurt anything. And I'm going to just work off the bottom of him for now. So yeah, there you go. There are his legs. These are little pieces of brown gum paste that I rolled into little beans, flatten them out as you saw just to make big, long, flat ovals, and they're going to become his little tiger stripes. So there's going to be 2 on each leg. I have the one on the bottom, like right now he's upside down. So yeah, there you go, his actual bottom. Doesn't come in as far as the top one. You see how I have them? So the top one comes in toward the center of his leg a little bit further than the bottom. So you want 2 stripes on each side. And so far so good. Nothing tricky or special here. These are maroon and red. It's a mixture of maroon and red, and those are going to be his shoes. So I got 2 little, ovals, eggs, whatever you want to call them, beans. They do look kind of like kidney beans. And they're going to be his sneakers. So I'm going to push each one down the lollipop stick So now it's going to rest on top of his leg. I know it's all upside down, so I'm saying things backwards. And then I'm going to do the same thing for the other one. I have to use some water to keep everything in place. Going to shove the other one on down just like that. And now I'm going to add the soles of his sneakers. I had rolled out some white gum paste, cut out a couple circles you saw me do, and just kind of stretched them and rolled them until they were the right size. So I'm just pressing them down over the lollipop stick again until it sits nice and flat right against his feet. Now he's got the soles of his sneakers. Okay, now I've cut out more circles, same white gum paste. I cut the circles in half, and now I am folding it over the toes of his shoes, because the shoes are kind of like that maroon color, and then they have the white tips of the toes. I'm going to cut a couple little skinny little rectangles for each foot to make the laces of his shoes. I'm not going to do the little bow tie. I don't really have that much room, so that's why I'm not doing it. If you make him a little bigger, maybe you would have the room to do it. So, that's just what I did. There's another maroon circle, smaller one I cut in half, and I'm using each half circle to make the tongue of his shoe. So I'm just putting it up against his leg where the front of the shoe meets. And there you go. Now we've got him from the neck down, pretty much. This is going to be his arm. I just roll out a nice long piece. I'm going to chop it down to make it shorter because he does have kind of short little arms. And I'm going to cut a really pretty severe angle off so it's real tight at the top, and then it just barely goes down to the outside of the wrist at the bottom. And this way his arm will sit up against his body nice and tight. He won't stick out like, Ralphie's little brother when he gets all dressed up in a Christmas Story with his arms sticking out, he can't put them down. You don't want that. So I did the same thing with the other arm. I cut it at a really sharp angle, put some stitching over top of it to make it match. And now I'm going to add the little waist of his sweater. So I just made a nice thin strip, wrap it all the way around, and do not add any stitching to it. And I keep saying, about the stitching tool. If you don't have it, you don't have to add this. It's just a little detail that if you have it, add it. If not, it'll be fine. It won't matter any. Okay, I put a line up the front as you saw with my knife, and I accidentally cut it, so I had to at the bottom, so I patched it back together, and I had two little pieces for pockets. All right, this yellow is going to be his little paws, so I just kind of cut out, a wad that's rounded. I made my indentations with my knife, and I'm just sticking it on. That's it. So there you go. Nice and easy. Going to do the same thing on the other side again. I got my round piece, cut it off so it's flat on the one end. Use my knife blade to press up, make 3 indentations because he does have 4 fingers. Be aware of that. And then stick them on the bottom of the sleeve. This little piece of brown that I'm cutting out long and thin is going to be his watch. Now, I am old school Mr. Rogers, so my Daniel Tiger lived in the clock and he didn't wear a sweater or sneakers, and he did wear a watch. He did wear a watch. So I guess that's kind of like a little homage to him that he still has his watch, but it's very sweet. I'm okay with this. All right, this giant ball of gold is going to be his head. Again, I know it looks yellow. It's actually gold. Just trust me. Trust the process. TTP is what I tell my husband all the time. He's like, oh, that doesn't look right. I'm like, TTP, get out of my way. Anyway, on that side note, I pressed down and around, as you see. I'm using the handle of my paintbrush to kind of sculpt out a little muzzle for him. When I have that separated out, I'm using my ball tool to make a couple of holes for his eyes and then fill them in with some white gum paste. And I was in the middle of making coffee, so that's my coffee lid for my cup sitting there. I forgot to move it, so yeah, coffee is life sometimes. I am adding black gum paste to each eye to make the pupil, and a little bit above each eye to make, I guess his eyelashes, I'm adding a little tiny beanie of yellow or gold to the bottom of his eye to make him look like his bottom eyelid is coming up because he's so happy that he's smiling real big and, his cheeks are coming up. I put a little highlight in each eye of white gum paste as well. And now I'm going to make his ears. So I had that thick circle that you saw. I just cut it in half. He totally looks like a Winnie the Pooh or a teddy bear or something right now, doesn't he? And I'm going to take each one. I hollowed it out a little, put some water in it, and I'm taking some of the brown gum paste, cut a little circle with just the bottom cut off, stick it inside the hollow, using a piece of dried spaghetti, and then plug in that ear into place. And there's my picture. See my reference picture. I had kind of a messy workplace in this situation. So there's the other ear. I did the same thing. Put the flat little piece of brown inside that. Use a piece of dried spaghetti. Plug it into place. Now, these are more tiger stripes, or they're going to be. Just like before, I made a whole bunch of beans and rolled them all flat and long. You place one big one in the center of his head, one smaller one on each side. He gets 2 on each cheek, with the top one coming in a little further, just like his thighs, and 2 over each ear, but make sure they don't touch the brown in the center, okay? Now he's got his little tiger stripes. That maroon color there in a loose triangle shape is his nose. I'm just kind of spreading it out there. It goes right at the top of his muzzle. And if I hadn't locked the focus in, you'd see this a little better. However, you can see I'm using an edible food coloring marker to draw the quintessential kitty cat meow meow face. That's the full proper name, kitty cat meow meow. Okay. I also had his head on a lollipop stick there and put it into the body. Now I'm making his collar of his jacket or his sweater. So I just took a round piece, wrapped it around his neck, kind of like a scarf, I guess. I'm using my tool that, if you have it, use it. If not, no worries. To make the stitching around his collar, I trimmed off the extra in the back. It was not exciting, so I didn't show you. I'm using a little bit of white gum paste to make the little tassels of his, I guess it's a hoodie. I don't know. I don't watch this one, so I'm not positive, but how freaking cute is that, right? Now, one last detail, we're going to make his tail, because I totally forgot to do it before, and as I was originally editing this video, I'm like, there's something missing. So yeah, I remembered his tail. I rolled out a piece of the gold nice and long, wrapped a little bit of that brown that we use for the stripes and everything around it. I put 3 on there, because, you know, that's as much as showed. Now put him aside and let him dry. He's got to sit up for a little bit before you can put him on your cake. In the meantime, I'm going to show you what I did with the cake itself. I covered a cake with some just blue fondant. I laid it over, trim off the extra, smooth down the sides. And now I'm going to show you what I did next. I have some green gum paste, or excuse me, fondant. This is fondant here. And I'm rolling out a nice long strip. I cut a straight line down. And I'm going to make a wavy thick line on the other side, which you could see if I switch hands, which is hard for me because I'm not left-handed. But there you go. I just made a wavy line down the one side. And this is going to become the border of my cake. So I just put it on nice and neat, smooth it into place. There you go. Now you've got the rolling green hills and pastures of make-believe land. Is that what it was? I don't remember. It's been a long time since I watched Mr. Rogers, and my kids are too old for this show, so I think it was Land of Make-Believe. That was it. Yes, yes. Sorry if I shouted at you, but I got excited there. Okay, so now I'm adding a few white clouds. I'm just taking some white fondant, mushing it between my fingers, sticking it on. However, just nice and random. I happen to have this scalloped cutter here that I rolled out. This is gum paste now because I need this to set and be stiff. This is gum paste. So I made a circle, as you saw, cut it in half, and now I've got some bushes. See that? How nice and easy. I'm going to make one more because I have a little bit of the green gum paste left. It only gave me, you know, most of a half a circle, which is all I need. Just trim it off to make it flat, stick it on, la-di-da, there you go. Okay, now this is going to be the wheels of the trolley. I'm going to put the trolley onto the cake next, but I'm not going to attach the wheels until the trolley is on the cake itself. Now I use gum paste for the trolley, remember? That's why it's sticking out nice and straight. If you were to use fondant for this, it would fold and, you know, conform to the cake more. I'm cutting the wheels down to the size that I need, so I cut them pretty much in half and tuck them underneath, and now it fits against the cake properly. So, I mean, you could put the wheels on first if you wanted to, and then just place them accordingly. I just did it this way, I don't know. But here we go with the flowers. I always have a bunch of dried flowers here made of gum paste in different colors because they add a wonderful touch of color to pretty much any kid's cake you're doing. So once you got your flowers in, stick Daniel on top. Add a couple more little flowers just because I have them, so why not? And you got a super sweet Daniel Tiger's neighborhood cake. So I hope you found this video helpful. Please like and subscribe because it does help me out. I've got a ton of other videos out there, so please take a look. And as always, thank you for watching Caketastic Cakes.